off on this Saturday, so I wanted to relax a little bit, have a cocktail, talk about that it is International Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia Day. Wearing my Pride shirt in support of all my family and friends, and mostly just because I'm not a bigoted asshole. It just drives me crazy. But nevertheless, nevertheless, yeah, I don't understand the purpose of those phobias across the board because it all you have is very closed-minded folks cherry picking a very archaic book to justify their own hatred and bigotry. But nevertheless, all right, let me make sure that one's going. All right, so I decided to. I keep trying. So I fixed up a Boston sour. See if I can get it poured here quickly. I had the foam up perfect, but it took me a while to get this. It took a little longer than I thought it was gonna to get going. So I did fix the cocktail to take a picture, but then I set it back. So yeah, but my foam sort of, but nevertheless, it's with us in spirit. it's it's with us in spirit. Oh, crap, it's still a little bit up there. I could add a little more if I wanted to, but we're just gonna leave it as is now. Lunch, yeah. So the Boston Sour. The Boston Sour is a very similar drink to the whiskey sour. The biggest difference is the whiskey sour is typically served on the rocks, while the Boston Sour is typically served in a coupe with an egg white foam on the top. So for this particular version, I use. I'm trying to get my good whiskey out. I hadn't had it for a while, and I'm exactly 1 week from my 60th birthday, so I decided to start celebrating today. Honey Barrel Bourbon. This one is at 109.6 proof. It's 3 years and 7 months old. Man, that's a nice cocktail. It's going to go down fast. They don't have to fix me another. I think I do something else then. I may have to make one more of these. Uh, I've never been one to shy away from my age. Oh, I didn't really explain what I got in there. I was talking about the difference between whiskey sour and a Boston sour, but I will tell you, I made this one slightly different. So I used that whiskey that I showed you, and I use some fresh squeezed lemon. Use about a half ounce of fresh squeezed lemon and a half ounce of some key lime juice. But the sweetener, I didn't use a simple to sweeten it. I decided to change things up a little bit and use the Sweet Blondie's candied orange from Tiyaki Da Distillers right here in Springfield, Missouri. So it made the cocktail just a little bit different. So I've got the lemon and the key lime, but now I've added that note of orange as well. And I don't like mine as sweet as a lot of folks. So for me, it's perfect, but for others, you may want to add some additional sweetener. Oh, nice drink. I think I'll keep the other one simpler. We're just going to serve it on the rocks, probably. Or I may chill it, put it in the coupe. I don't know. Who knows? I do like the coupe, though. I don't know why. I don't know why. Because I used to be a basic whiskey glass kind of guy, but I do like drinking out of the coupe. I love the Manhattan. I even put my martinis in it. But nevertheless, let me take a drink here. I knocked that one back a little quicker than expected. So I'm going to set that off to the side. Well, I get cocktail number two rocking. So I'm going to use another honey barrel bourbon, but a different brand. The funny thing is, so I picked this product. I misplaced it. I had it right here in front of me, and now I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is. I moved it to the back. My bad. So when we started our vacation last year, we got about halfway to our destination, and we stopped just on the other side of St. Louis in Collinsville, Illinois, because there was a little place called Old Herald Brewery and Distillery, but they so that they brew beer, but they also distill in this ardent spirits. So what I picked up was the honey barrel because I didn't expect to find another honey barrel on my trip, right? So they had this honey barrel at 114 proof. So I decided to try it, but then when we got to Echo, I thought, another honey barrel. So I ended up with two honey barrel whiskeys that I am very happy with. Produced by Ardent Spirits, Collinsville, Illinois. Unfortunately, they don't give me any other information on this product, but I got to tell you, folks, it is just outstanding. Let's see where I put my little jigger. So, in my old age, I've decided to become a professional bartender. I know most people do that when they're younger, then they get an education, do other things. I did things a little backwards. But boy, I just really enjoy it. A lot of it is just learning something new, right? I've always been sort of I won't say closet, but home bartender, right? I've always loved making cocktails and stuff at home and having folks over and making drinks. And I've done things on an amateur level for friends, but I've never, been a professional bartender. So having this opportunity to do so at my advanced age, yeah, I'm finding it interesting. Everybody I'm working with is a minimum of 20 years younger. We're between 20 and almost 40 years younger, but for me, it's just a new challenge, right? It is keeping me fresh, trying to learn something new. So I'm using my bell jigger, and I make a point of telling you that for a reason, because well, when we started adding cocktails at work, and it became that we were going to add a full cocktail menu. Um, which means work needed a Boston shaker, which I hadn't used before. So I thought, well, I need one at home to practice the cocktails with at home, so I don't make mistakes at work. So I went somewhere to get a Boston shaker, and I did. So I found one online that was a specific price. And the friend said, "Well, you should go to this place. This is where I buy all my equipment. It's going to be a little cheaper," and it was. It was about $8 cheaper actually for the Boston Shaker. But here's the problem. Here's where everything went awry. Is that okay? Found that Boston Shaker, perfect. They got this, but now I need a proper bar strainer. I've got one at home, but it's not a real professional one. So I need a proper bar strainer, and then now I need a spoon. So I got the spoon, and then I need a bell jigger. So, a fair chunk of change later, and this is where we are. Put that back. Put the stopper back. So what I decided to do with this, I am going to make kind of a whiskey sour with it. So I've got a couple ounces of that whiskey. And again, that mix of that mix of a fresh squeezed lemon juice and some key lime juice. I like using the key lime. You can get a fresh lime and squeeze it if you like. I just happen to have that key lime juice, and I like that little extra tartness it provides. But again, you do you, right? Whatever makes sense. So again, for the sweetness, though, I'm gonna use my candied orange from Tiyakida, about an ounce, instead of using a traditional simple. And because and I have a Ardent Spirits old Harold glass, so I'm gonna use that and not use my coupe, even though I just said I love using the coupe, but I am gonna serve it straight up. This means I have it good and chilled, but I'm not leaving ice in the glass. So I probably ought to put some kind of garnish on it. You gotta make it look good, Tom. So anyway, so a little lemon garnish there. Let me get that out there where you can see it. And cilantro. I got this weekend and next weekend completely off, so I'm kind of excited about that. I had a stretch where I didn't have a weekend off for about 4 weeks, a full weekend off for about 4 weeks. But I had last weekend off, this weekend off, next weekend, so I'm going to have 3 straight weekends off, which usually doesn't happen. But since next weekend is my birthday, I know none of my none of my coworkers will take that away from me. They know I'm going to be hungover Saturday from my birthday. I haven't had a birthday party in a long time. I'm just really not that. We usually go away or do something, just my wife and I. And I've always kind of liked it that way. I think I was about 34, maybe 35. My wife threw me a birthday party with folks, mostly folks I was working with at the time, and that was fun. But I haven't had one since, so it's been about 15, no, 35. Tommy, you're not just turning 50 or turning 6. It's been about 25 years. Oh my God, I'm old. Um, it's interesting though, turning 60. As a youngster, when I viewed folks in their 60s, yeah, that's not me, right? That's not me right now, man. Um, and I hate to sound like an old fart, but I don't know. I feel like younger folks don't respect older folks like they did back then. I mean, there are some, but as a whole, you got I don't know that there's that respect level that there once was, and some of it is maybe that it wasn't taught, and some of it's maybe that, well, those of us of a certain age have kind of screwed up, made a lot of mistakes as a generation, so the younger generation doesn't feel we're worthy of respect, and quite frankly, that's fair. Which brings me to its international against homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia day. Is that it just drives me crazy that here we are in 2025 and we're still dealing with the same ignorance, bigotry, and hatred that we dealt with, when I was a kid. You would have thought we'd be beyond this by now with the science that we know now. That is fact. And that's the part that drives me crazy is the folks that are homophobic, biphobic, transphobic. You can show them the actual data and they will still deny it. They will say, well, that's just your opinion. No, this isn't my opinion. This is somebody else's research and facts. You watching 2 videos on YouTube is not doing research. You listening to ignorant jackasses podcast is not research. Oh my God. Nevertheless, here we are. Here we are with these same fucking morons. I don't know. Even folks want to use the Bible to cherry pick certain references and say it's an abomination, it's a sin, while completely overlooking others. And it's the same people that have tattoos, which is a sin according to the Bible. It's the same people that have been divorced multiple times, but homosexuality is a sin. They want to cherry pick very certain things and pick them out only because it justifies their ignorance. It justifies their bigotry. It justifies their hatred. They don't care about any reality. In the end, all they have to say is, well, God says, and that's okay for them to be a complete and utter asshole. So, no, I'm not afraid to wear shirts like these or say my opinions because, well, I'm not an asshole. I'm not a complete ignorant jackass that refuses to believe the science that has already been proven. And the fact of the matter is, I don't know why there's this very particular focus on the trans community right now because everybody in the trans community is just surviving. Them being their true self isn't hurting anybody's lives. So I'm not sure why a certain far right community wants to focus on hurting them because whatever the trans population being their authentic selves isn't affecting anybody's life at all. We have real problems in this country, and the trans community is certainly not one of them. So I don't know why this particular bigoted, corrupt administration seems to be zero focused on that. And I think my opinion is this is my opinion. The other thing was fact, but this is my opinion. My opinion, the reason they're focused on that is it takes people's focus away of how bizarre, hateful, and corrupt this particular administration is. Because it really is. They're focusing on certain things to appeal to the idiots, so you're not focused on the things that are very important. So they're gradually stripping your freedoms away in the guise of taking out a community that somehow bothers you for no reason other than you're just an ignorant asshole. So you're not a sleight of hand, basically. They're screwing up stuff over here, stealing your money, but they want you focused on this because they know you're not bright enough to figure it out. Anyways, I digress. Oh, that is nice. Yeah, again, typically a drink like this you'd want to serve in a coupe, very chilled. But since I had my old Harold glass, I just chilled this glass very well. Put everything in the shaker. But I stirred it. I did stir, not shaker. I was talking with someone the other day where we were talking about uh, the differences, right? What cocktails you should shake, what you should stir. And it's not so much that we disagreed as we just have um, different processes, right? Because neither is wrong. It's all on how you like to do it. And sometimes it's about speed. There are certain cocktails that I really prefer to shake. The martini, even if it's a dirty martini, even if it's a vodka martini, I prefer to stir. But the Manhattan, you can shake, and most bars will shake a Manhattan. But if you look up early original recipes of a Manhattan, is traditionally stirred. So if I'm home, I will stir it. But at work, especially if we're busy, I will shake it because it gets you to that final destination a little quicker. But I do prefer my Manhattan. So anytime I have the chance, I will stir the Manhattan rather than shake it. Now, an old fashioned, I will shake and then pour it over that big old cube. But the Manhattan, I do like it. I want to treat it a little more gently. I want to get it cold, but I don't want ice. I don't want those ice crystals in there. So I'll be a little careful. Do double strain, which I just learned. Learned a lot of stuff in my old age. About old dogs and new tricks. So we can learn new tricks. It just takes us a little longer because now we've got to get over the things we've learned wrong, right? When you try to learn something new, new techniques, you have to forget the stuff you were taught, 20, 30, 40, or even 50 years ago. You got to forget that stuff because you learned something wrong. That might have been the information at the time, but now they do it this way. So you got to somehow shake that out of your head like an etch a sketch and learn something new. And that's why it's hard to teach older folks new things, is because we have to unlearn. So it's not about just learning that whatever that new thing is. It's about unlearning something else. But I do think that's something that younger folks don't understand when they get frustrated trying to teach us old folks something, that it's not just about learning that new thing. It's about unlearning that old thing, right? We have to, it's not about just learning something. Now we have to unlearn something as well. While younger folks are just learning things for the first time. Because I know sometimes I have to be told things more than a younger person. I've got to go over it again because that voice, that old technique keeps wanting to pop up. But Tom, you were taught this way. So you got to shake that out because that is wrong. Now you got to unlearn something to learn something new. And that's the other part of that too, is you have to be willing to admit that this new way is better. And it is not necessarily better, but more efficient, right? You're learning things um, that more information has been acquired since the time you learned the first thing, right? You learned it this way, but now we know this, and this that we didn't know back then. That's why that technique has changed. Oh, that makes sense. But some of us old folks, and I will say sometimes I'm one of them, are slow to change, right? It takes us a minute sometimes. So again, for this particular cocktail, I used 2 ounces of the Ardent Spirits Honey Barrel. I used 1 ounce of a mix of fresh squeezed lemon juice and key lime juice, and I used about 1 ounce of this candied orange liqueur rather than a simple syrup. So the result is I get some of those orange notes mixed with that other citrus, which I like. And that is a very sweet liqueur, but it's not quite as sweet as a simple. So I want to keep in mind that some of you might want to, if you have this or a product like it, if you want to add like an orange liqueur, like a Cointreau, you might want to add another half ounce of simple. But I would try it without the simple first, because I don't like it as sweet. So that's why, because I want to still feel that tartness, right? You want a little sweetness in there, but keep in mind that you do it that way to get those other flavors, but you might want to add just a little other sweetness. Anyways, but anyways, I digress. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer. Wow, that's delicious. Whiskey evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and all-around good guy. Remember, this is international against against homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia. And again, it just breaks my heart that we're still having the same tired old arguments that just doesn't make any sense. And the only argument people like that will give you is, well, the Bible says. Well, the Bible says a lot of stuff that you're obviously ignoring. You want to say this is a permanent sin, but you have tattoos all over your body. You've been divorced more than once. Anyways, we're just going to skip to the Salaraga guys.